Hey guys, what's up? Super excited to be here at the Miami conference, Futurist conference here. Super beautiful outside. The sun's not scorching me right now, so I'm grateful for these clouds. We got the little loudmouth reference on here. We got a lot of random shit going on, but I'm here with Jason from Onchain. They're about to launch a new, product feature in the next 24 hours, if I'm
Yeah,
not
well,
mistaken.
we've you guys been tracking the journey of this launch for quite some time right now from Toronto when we spoke last time, all the way to a few weeks ago in Singapore, where we did the soft launch of the Onchain Gateway, which is effectively, a on-demand access to the on-chain economy. So what does that mean? Pretty straightforward. I mean, at the end of the day, right now, buying on-chain is still quite hard. It's not something that we've figured out, as an industry yet. And what we, wanted to solve as a high priority in our kind of big arc is how can we make sure that we can buy these on-chain assets directly with local currencies, in general fiat, because it's still quite fragmented. And we've talked about this before, and you worked, with the middlemans and the gatekeepers as we've talked. And I think, and especially recently, and I'm sure you've been following kind of the discussions on socials, but the topic keeps coming back about listings and costs and kind of this choke point.
A little burned online for that one.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
you're referencing. Yeah.
Yeah. He undisclosed, like he just basically shared the listing page, like the agreement and everything. So, but yeah, long story short, we're officially launching the public version of Gateway basically today, if everything goes well. If I get around to approving everything, so it should be live by tomorrow on onchain.money. And what anyone will be able to do is whichever asset you're interested in buying on chain, let's say you go to CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, you go to one of those, price chart websites like, let's say, a DEX screener, a DEX tool, and you see these trending tokens, and you're like, okay, so how can I buy this token super fast without having to do all those hoops and loops and buy gas and, go on the DEX and whatnot? You can just take the contract address, go on onchain.money, paste it in the search bar, and then if everything's sweet, if it passes the smart guardrails, then boom, you get an interface that looks essentially like MoonPay, and you can buy it with your local payment methods, credit card, debit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, and within seconds, it's in your wallet. So
I looked, obviously, you showed me the new website yesterday, and he had a kind of a funny icon there of a gas pump. And it had certain colors to it. Don't need to get into that.
that's an Easter egg.
Don't need to get into that, but I think people check it out. Check it out for yourself. What's kind of the messaging around gas that you want people to know about using this new product that you're trying to show by having that on there?
Yeah, so I think ultimately this is a consensus that everybody kind of agrees on, which is we shouldn't have to be exposed to gas to transact on chain, because especially if you're in it to make an upside and you're not trading immediately and you acquire gas and you're holding it just in case you need to transact immediately or for time sensitive transactions, but then this gas for whatever reason isn't trending upward. So now you have kind of this spread that you have to make up in your future trade. So ultimately, like I said, the consensus is gas should be hidden in the underlying rails. Users should not have to interact with it at all whatsoever. Unless you're a believer in Ethereum, you want to hold Ethereum because, it's a project you care about, or Solana or BNB or, whichever other, utility token of a chain, that makes total sense. And I'm 100% for it. That's part of securing kind of the chain's kind of network and everything. So, but if you're interested in trading, the gas to fulfill the transaction should be hidden in the underlying facilitating rails. And that's kind of where we're at. We've built what we call the Onchain Protocol Network, and that's a coordination layer that moves value around seamlessly. And that abstracts the gas, but also abstracts everything that we're used to experiencing in terms of friction. So that's what Onchain Gateway is built on. And that lets us, you as a user, basically just come in and on demand request any asset that you want to buy, and we'll fulfill the transaction on chain for you. Non-custodial, permissionless, decentralized, the way it should basically always have been. And we're not going to dive back again into the whole kind of listing conversation, but we kind of want to, by doing so, I think we've been talking from the user's perspective, but if we talk 2 seconds from a project's perspective that are issuing tokens, it's quite clear that the industry is still kind of choked, from an accessibility perspective. And I tend to say, if I were to tell you there's this new great platform you can build on, great technology, great promise, and the products and services that you're going to build and start offering, nobody can buy them, you'd be like, well, what is that? What the hell? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the most innovative and futuristic and promising platform in the world, but if the currency to transact within those walls is impossible to teach people to get, or there's too many friction, it's just not going to be inspiring or motivating for any entrepreneurs to actually truly build at scale. So now the conversation is more like, well, now anybody that holds fiat can transact and purchase your token or whatever utility your token has with the currencies that they have in their own pocket. Then that changes the game. Because before, it used to be like how much money you had and the connections and the backdoor kind of handshakes and now we're leveling the playing field. We're just saying, you know what? On-ramping as a verb is kind of going away. The whole listing idea of, well, you need to list to enable fiat access to your token and to be global. Now you can be global on day one. Just go on our website. You don't even have to sign up. There's no agreement. It's fully permissionless. You get your gateway activated and you're off to the races. So now I guess it's more about creativity, and it's really more about like culture and everything that it should be about. That's how people should compete. That's on the grounds that I think is fair. So we want to bring fairness back into the industry, or at least just bring it all together, because it's been gatekept for as long as we can remember.
How important do you think it is to remove gas from these transactions and abstract it away from the user experience? Why is that so important?
Well, the thing is, and I've mentioned a few of them, but I think what also needs to be mentioned is, beyond being exposed to the gas, figuring out how to buy it. And then if you think of, okay, so if you had to buy gas, that effectively means that you need to swap on chain. That means that you're going to have to go to a DEX, or you're going to have to swap within a wallet, something like that. That means that you still have to operate another interface. It means you still have to basically have this other step. And fundamentally here, if you think of e-com, if every single time you wanted to buy something on a website, you had to buy the website's or the marketplace's currency to first be able to transact on there, that would be a massive, massive rebuttal for most people. They'd be like, well, you know what? Send me an email or call me back when you guys have figured your shit out. It's like, seriously, so that's why, it needs to be, leveled down, and people shouldn't be having to know that. I mean, even from a transactional perspective, what the fuck is gas? If you're trying to tell people, like, people know that something you put in your car, depends on the country. Most of the country will say petrol, but like, the fuck is gas? Seriously? Like, if you want anything to catch fire, and it's the same analogy if you think of, what was it called? Kind of the first before the phone.
Telegram?
Yeah, the telegram.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, that's the name. So the inventor of that, he was like, well, I'm gonna put one on every workstation in the world, and that's gonna increase productivity like by 1000x, because now it will feel like people are working in the same room. But the reality and the fact of the matter is that if people have to learn a new language to operate the thing and to communicate, That's just a massive blocker. It's huge friction. And that's the reason why, you know, the telephone caught fire, because like you didn't have to learn a new language. You just speak in it and it would understand tone, it would understand language and everything. It didn't have any friction whatsoever. That's why it caught fire. So however innovative Onchain can be, if it has this prerequisite of learning a new language, which is like bridges, on-ramping, gas, wallets, contract address, chains, it's never gonna catch fire. So that's kind of the mission here is, you know, gas is just one thing amongst many things that needs to be abstracted. Gateway pretty much abstracts most of them. So we think that that type of innovation, that type of service will just change the game fundamentally for access.
Awesome. And what made you decide to come to Futurist again?
I think Futurist, you know, it's a great franchise. I think, you know, being Canadian, also maybe it's a thing, you know, I need to support, you know, the local team. But I like the vibe, you know, I like the people. I think it's different than, you know, a big token 2049. We were talking about it earlier, you know, the vibes are more casual. They're normally set in kind of this really relaxed leisure club environment with a lot of place to sit and chill and meet. So it's a different vibe. And I think you need to have kind of this counterbalance to this massive machine that just like overwhelms you, and by the third hour you're in it, you feel completely drained because it's overwhelming.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for the great interview. If you haven't already, I don't know why you haven't, but make sure to follow Jason and follow Onchain. Check out their website. A lot of cool stuff coming on. Product features that's going to be coming soon, as we talked about today. Probably will already be out by the time you see this. I hope you enjoyed the interview, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Gen Z is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a house.
No, we do not understand. That we do not understand. Ladies and gentlemen.
Rebecca's Gen Z Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.